What's up everybody, welcome to part 8 of my How to Make a Pokemon tutorial series. In this episode, we are going to be making cutscenes. I'm going to be showing you a bunch of event commands that are all related to making cutscenes. So, in the last episode, we looked at the first page of event commands. We looked at switches and variables and conditional branches and loops and all that good stuff. This episode's going to be a little bit more straightforward. I like it, I think you're going to like it. We are going to talk about transferring players. We're going to talk about, moving events around, scrolling stuff. It's going to be really cinematic. We're also going to look at some pictures and some nice little effects and maybe some music stuff as well. A lot of these are really straightforward that you can mess around with on your own. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's make our own cutscene. So let's let me delete that real quick. Let's look at all the event commands first and then make a cutscene. The first event command is really simple. It's transfer player. We looked at it a little bit earlier. Like at the very beginning, we modified a transfer player command. And essentially what it is you choose a point. I like to use direct appointment right here. You just double click it and you can pick a map and a specific point on the map to just warp your player. So transfer player, it really just warps you somewhere. So let's just make a transfer player that warps you to the very start of Route 1. This is a point with variables you don't really ever have to worry about. I have never used it. Direction, what that means is the direction the player is facing after they have warped. Retain means that they retain their direction from the start of the warp. So if you're facing left and then it warps, you're facing left. But if you want to set a specific direction, like I want him to be facing down after the warp. And then fading just means whether it fades, fades to black and then fades out and fades in. So let's just test that. It's super easy. Transfer player, it does what it says it does. It'll transfer you. So I step on it. I think it was this one. Oh, I made it in action. Yeah, there we go. So one thing you'll notice that's a little weird, it's an engine specific thing. It's kind of inescapable. If you transfer somebody near the edge of a map, the loading won't be 100% clear. You saw there was a little bit of line there, but, that's something you gotta live with. I don't know if it's possible to fix that. So the next thing, let's take a look, is set event location. So this is really useful for cutscenes and for moving events. One thing that I really like to do, this is gonna get a little complicated right now, but one thing that I really like to do, here we have Gary, or Blue, and I put him right here in the walkway. What I really like to do is move him off the map, place him down here in the bottom right, and then when I trigger the event, have it set his event location up, and then have him walk. So let's make that right now. I'll show you how to make all of this right now. I'll make it so when I step on a specific point, Gary will transfer, he'll walk, he'll say something, then he'll walk back, and then he'll be transferred again. So let's do this real quick. Let's make it so that way, this is kind of a cheap practice, but it's really, really easy to make cutscenes when you only have to worry about one square. I mean, if I was gonna make, if I had a lot more time to spend on this video, I would show you how to make a cutscene where it handles multiple, but that can all be handled with switches, and I'm sure you can figure that out. If you can't figure it out, then I can help you, but it's really simple. So let's make it so that way when you step on this, on player touch, what'll happen is it will set event location, it'll transfer. Oh, I haven't given him a name yet. Let's do that. I have to give him a name. That'll make it easier. He's Event 07, but let's just name him all caps Gary. So he's all caps Gary. So when you step on this, it'll show text. Let's just make it show text. Saying event start. So when you step on it, that's the first thing that happens. And then it'll set event location, Gary. Direct appointment. So let's make it so it warps Gary here. Gary will face left. So this is basically the same as transfer player, but it transfers events. And you can make it so it warps places with other events or points with variables. I never use those, so I just direct appointment, facing left. Cool. And then, ooh, let's do this. I can show you all the other map things while I do this. So after he's transferred, let's have it wait 8 frames. And then Scroll map direction. Okay, so scroll map, all that does is it scrolls the map. Essentially, it's like for panning the camera. So we can make it scroll to the right, a distance of, let's make it 2, and let's make it pretty fast. And then let's insert another wait of 12 frames, whatever, I don't know. And then, so scroll map is kind of useful. I don't use it a whole lot because most Pokemon games don't use scroll map. But it can be used to make certain cutscenes a lot better and really cinematic and nice. One thing to remember though is, if you scroll it 2 to the right, at some other point later in the event, you should scroll it 2 to the left, so it resets back to neutral. Change map settings I never use. Change fog color tone and change fog opacity I never use either. Show animation is really nice. Show animation, what that does is you choose what event you want to play the animation. So typically you want it to play on top of the player, but you can make it play on other events as well. And you can make like exclamation marks and question marks appear above your player or other events. So Gary could have a question mark, the player could have a question mark. So let's do both. Question bubble. Or let's and then let's make Gary have an exclamation. Exclaim bubble. Cool. And then I like to insert a little bit of weight, so that way the animation has time to play. And then now for the next one, I talked about animation. Transparent flag. So this is really useful if you want your player to be invisible, or basically you turn it to transparent if you want your player to be invisible. You turn it to normal if you want your player to not be invisible. I'm not going to use it in this cutscene, but there might be certain cutscenes where you do want, like, let's say you want the cutscene to take place in a different room. Like, it's flashing to a different area where there's 2 characters talking, and then it flashes back to you. What you could do is do a transfer player to that other room, and then while it's transferring the player, set your player to be invisible, and then play out the cutscene, and then transfer back. It's kind of complicated, but if you ever need to make your character invisible, this is how you would do it. So set move route. I use set move route all the time. You have no idea. Set move route might be my #1 most used event. Maybe control switches, maybe control self switch. But yeah, I use move route a lot for cutscenes. You need to know your way around set move route. So the most basic stuff is like move down, move left, move right. You can make them do like move down and left, move up and left, move down and right, you know. Complicated stuff. You can make him turn down if you only want him to rotate and not take a step. If you do move down, it will also make him turn down when he moves down. That's kind of useful. Turn towards player is actually really useful. If you want to, like, I don't know, some complicated events are made simpler when you use turn towards and turn away, or move towards. And then there's more complicated stuff here on the right. Like, you can make it so his animations for moving turn off. He doesn't move anymore. Change stuff. Yeah, you can get really complicated. You can insert weights and 1 step backward. So move route, there's so many options. I highly recommend you just mess around with move route. Just make routes and just mess around with it. So up here in the top left, you specify which event you want to move. You can make the player move, or you can make an event move. I'm going to make Gary move to us. Repeat action means once it cycles through all the moves in here, it will then repeat and then repeat and then repeat. It's not really too useful for a cutscene. And then ignore if can't move is pretty useful. Like, if your person is moving and they get stuck on something, ignore if can't move means if you get stuck, it'll just move to the next. So like, it's really good to, like, it's like a safety check, if anything, if that makes sense. So Gary, I think, warps here, so he moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just make a move left 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think each step takes like 4 frames, I think. So we could potentially do the math and say, hey, 4 times 8, wait 32 frames. But something that's really useful is if you don't want to worry about doing any math for weights, you can do wait for moves completion. If you put wait for moves completion underneath a move route, it will, you guessed it, it will wait for the move route to complete before it does the next thing. So, like, he'll say, I'm here, baby. So if I didn't have this wait for move complete, what would happen is Gary would start moving left, and then like during the first step, it would print out the text saying, "I'm here, baby." But with the wait for moves complete, Gary will start moving left, and then he'll move left, and then complete his motion, and then he'll say, "I'm here, baby." So let's just test that real quick. So what should happen is the camera will pan, there'll be animations, it'll be pretty cool. So let's take a look. I think I should save down this hill also. When you're testing your cutscenes, I highly recommend you just save in front of them so you can replay them again as fast as possible. Alright, so I step on it, event start. I'm here, baby. Cool. So the camera is panned over, and now I think it normalized. Yeah, it's weird. Event start. I'm here, baby. See, it transferred him too. It set his event location. So that's pretty cool. So here's another small little trick. If you take this conditional branch right here from a trainer, you can really just copy that and paste it into an event, and then it'll add a battle to your event. And so we talked about conditional branches last episode. Conditional branches for trainers, what that means is everything inside is what happens if you win. So if you win, the event continues. If you lose, then, it's just game over and you have to start the event over again. But yeah, if you win, it'll turn self switch A on. So let's make a new event page that says, hey, if self switch A is on, nothing happens. And then after you beat him, he'll say, damn, you beat me. And let's polish this event up a little bit. Let's make it scroll 3. And after you beat him, he'll say, damn, you beat me. And then let's do a set move route again for Gary, and he'll move right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And right before you have to battle him, let's insert a scroll map to the left again, 3, and then a wait of 12. Okay, so a lot of this cutscene making and eventing will come with time as you make more and more complicated events, but for the most part, just mess around with it and screw around. And oh, one thing I forgot to do. One thing that's really good to do at the start of cutscenes. Okay, I can enter this from the bottom. I can enter this from the left side or from above. So I could be facing right, or I could be facing down when the cutscene starts. So I need to pay attention to that. And set move route, player, turn right. So at the very start of the event, the player will turn right. It's just good to make certain what direction you can possibly enter an event from. So from above, now I face right. Cool. Event start. Oh, see, look, that's where my map ends. I'm here, baby. Cool. And then the battle starts, and this is, I've already made this battle. If you're holding control, you can just run from a trainer battle when you're in debug mode and treat it as a win. Cool. And they'll say, damn, you beat me. He's still gonna be there though, because I didn't remove him. But yeah, and then it won't play anymore. Cool. So let's make this cutscene succinct and finished. So he'll say, damn, you beat me. And then set event location, Gary. So I have two theories. I have one theory that this won't work. I have another theory that this will work. Let's test it out. Oh yeah, I have to include a wait here as well. So remember, if I don't have a wait for move complete, what'll happen is he'll start moving right and then immediately be warped, which we don't want. We want him to move to the right, and then once he's done moving, warp him out of here. And then let's show text and say, you beat Gary, yay. Cool. Simple stuff. I mean, it gets simpler the more you mess around with it. Hey, I'm here, baby. So the camera moved, they played the animation, he walked up, he said his line, the camera moved back, and then the battle starts. And then I beat him. Damn, you beat me. He walks away, and then he transfers. Cool, it worked. So now Gary's gone. And that's how you make an event. I still have more event commands to talk about, but that was a pretty nice little simple event, right? He walks up, he battles you, he walks away. Really simple. That's something that you'd see maybe in a normal Pokemon game. I mean, maybe you wouldn't see a Groudon here and other weird stuff, but you know. So that's our simple event. Let's take a look at other event commands that I that I didn't get to mention. Ooh, okay, cool. So I've talked about the core ones, the most important ones, but there's, I don't really ever use prepare for transition or execute transition. I've never used those, but change screen color tone is really useful if you want to have your own like manual like color fades. So let's make this a player touch. Change screen color tone. What that does is you can change it to different colors. You can make things get really weird if you want. But this is really useful if you want to fade it to black and then fade it back. And then you can set the time. So you can set the color that it fades to. You can say how long it takes to transfer to that color. So I can say it takes 20 frames for it to change to black. And then I can also include a wait 20 frames. And then I can change screen color tone back to color for 40 frames. And then I can insert a wait 40 frames. There we go. It's usually a good idea to have waits that are just as long as the color change. But you know, hey, if that's not your prerogative. Okay, so it fades to black for 20, then it fades to color for 40. Fades to black, fades to color. So that's really useful, and you can get really weird colors if you want. Another thing that's really good is the next ones, screen flash and screen shake. Screen flash is kind of like changing the tone, but it's like a really dramatic, like, you know, like lightning strike, whatever. So I can just make it a white flash for 10 frames. Let's have that wait for 10 frames. Cool. And then the next one, let's include a wait of like 30 frames. The next one is screen shake. Screen shake just violently shakes the screen, you know, like earthquake. So let's make the screen shake for 10 frames. And you can change the power, you can change the speed, but let's just make it 5 and 5 right now, real basic. And then let's have that wait for 20 frames, cool. Easy stuff. And this is, once again, I highly recommend you just mess around with this stuff. It's really fun to just mess around with it. Oh, so that was a screen flash. Now there's a screen shake. That was kind of a baby screen shake, right? So screen flash, screen shake. Let's crank it up a little bit. That screen shake is kind of disappointing me. It leaves something to be desired. Let's go power. Let's go speed a little bit too. So it'll be like a real earthquake. Oh, and since it's kind of like an earthquake, let's also let's include a sound. So you can do play background music, which changes the background music that's playing. You can do fade out background music. You can play BGS. Like, often, most of these don't really need explanation. Like, you can really just see what it does and then do it. But if you just want to play a simple sound effect, play SE. And then there's a whole bunch of sound effects that have already been included. Like, you can do, whoa, blow, whoa. That's a lot of blows, whoa, whoa. But yeah, let's do, what do we got? Earth? Earthquake? Let's do that one, whatever. And let's crank that volume up on it to 100. Cool. So that's playing the sound effect Earth for the earthquake. Let's see if this earthquake is better. Let's see if it shakes a little more. Let's see if it's got a little more oomph. Oh. So there's a screen flash, and then earthquake. Okay, not bad. Not bad. But yeah, these are all just like cinematic stuff if you want to mess around with it. So the next and last thing that I'll talk about in this episode is pictures. I don't really ever use weather effects, but I do use pictures occasionally. So show picture, move picture, rotate picture. These are like most other things in this episode. These are best if you just mess around with them, but let's do a really quick example. Show picture, we'll just add a picture. There's a lot. Okay, so the number, it's The number is important for later. When you move picture, it moves pictures based on the number. So you say, I move picture 3. So you have to make sure that you keep track of the numbers. So like for our first picture, picture number 1, let's just do a picture of a bag, whatever, picture of a bag. So what you can do is, the next thing is you choose the origin. So the origin is basically determining what coordinate 0, 0 is. So is 0, 0 the upper left, or is 0, 0 the center of the screen? Let's just make 0, 0 the center of the screen. And then you can set its coordinates. So let's just make it 0, 0. Let's just make it everything in the center of the screen. You can change how much it's zoomed, so that controls how big it is. And you control that on the X and Y axis. So you can go like stretch things out, make them like narrow or tall or, you know, wide and okay, whatever. But let's just make it really basic, 100 by 100. Actually, let's make it big. Let's make it a really big bag, 200 by 200. And then opacity controls, you know, how, I mean, you've used Photoshop before, right? If you haven't, opacity is basically how transparent something is. 255 means you can't see through it at all. It's very opaque. But if you lower the opacity, then it starts to become transparent. And at 0, it's the same as not even being there. Blend modes, you don't really need to worry about these. Like if you've used Photoshop, once again, like you probably know about other blending modes, but I would say just keep that at normal. Don't worry about it. So now that we have a picture in the center of our screen, we can do the other commands to move the picture. So we can move picture 1, we can move it for like 10 frames, and let's do center, and then we can move it to its new coordinates. So let's set its new coordinates to be like 50, whatever. And it still has to be 200 and 200 zoom. So move is more like a modify picture, because you can change the zoom and you can change the opacity. And then you can rotate the picture, you can change the picture colors, and then you can eventually erase the picture. Erase picture 1. So let's do this. So this event, what it'll do is it'll put the picture in the center of the screen, and then let's insert another weight. It'll put the picture in the center of the screen, it'll move it, and then it will erase it. Oh, didn't mean to do that? Okay. So this is pretty simple, but I'll just show it off real quick. Holy crap, that's not in the center. But you see what I mean, right? Like, using pictures means you have to tweak it a lot. Like, this is best used, like this is an iterative process where you just mess with it over time. But yeah, I hope this episode helped. We made a cutscene. If you have any other cutscene questions, let me know. There's not much else to explain for events. Like, I'll look at all the other events right now, actually. I mean, I have time. I mean, this is already a long episode. So, let's see. If there was any confusion, I'll explain this real quick. So this is a script, weird conditional branch thing. Essentially, all you need to do is worry about the name of the trainer. So this is the trainer type. He's type test. His name is Patrick. There's his quote he says when he loses. And that's really all you need to worry about. So I could define the trainer in the trainer.pbs, like we mentioned earlier in the trainer episode. And then to say like, oh, rival Gary. And when you beat him, he says, shoot. And just define all that there. And then after you beat him, it'll set self switch A on. So that way this event won't play anymore. And then it'll do all that stuff. Okay, so let's look at some of the other things that I haven't talked about yet. I'm pretty sure I've talked about everything that you need to worry about. I've talked basically about everything in page 1. The one thing that I haven't talked about that I do use is change Battle Bgm. I like to do that right before a scripted battle. So this is a scripted battle against Gary. Insert change Battle Bgm right up above it, and then let's find... There's really no good music right now, but let's just, like, let's use this crappy music. Come on. Yeah, let's do that. Whatever. Like, oh, it's so bad. It's like a MIDI. So change Battle Bgm is really good if you place it right above a scripted battle. So instead of playing normal battle music, you'll say, hey, and it loads because the music sucks. And now it's playing the battle music that we've set. So that's pretty cool. And then the only other thing that I use, let me get rid of that because I actually hate that music. I mean, I love Gold and Silver. I love the soundtrack, but I hate like the quality of that music that came included with this. Ugh. Okay. So yeah, I don't really use anything else on this page that I haven't talked about. I've talked about everything I use on this page. And third page. On the third page, the only thing that I don't use anything on this page besides one thing, and that's recover all. Recover all entire party. Basically, that's kind of like a Nurse Joy thing. That just heals everyone on your team. That heals all your Pokemon. So recover all entire party. So if you ever want to make a Nurse Joy, you can use that. I mean, Nurse Joy has already been created. If you go to the other towns, like, let's see, Larusian town, Cerulean. Like in their Pokemon Center, they have a Nurse Joy, and yeah, she recovers all entire party. So yeah, that's all of the events. So that means, moving forward from this point, I have so much freedom to show you how to do things. Now that we've gotten a lot of the basics out of the way, we can start getting really complex and get into the nitty-gritty. It's exciting. So, with that said, the next episode, I think what I'm going to talk about is how to make the professor at the beginning of the game and choosing starter Pokemon. And then after that, you know, we'll see. Maybe I'll make a gym. Maybe I'll talk about Mega Evolutions, because I know I've seen some requests about that. But yeah, so now that all of the events are out of the way, we can start getting into the good stuff, and that's exciting. And I hope to see you for it in future episodes, and I'll see you guys next time. Like I've said at the end of the other episodes, feel free to, you know, follow on Twitter and Twitch and all that good stuff, and I'll try to get to all your questions if you have any. And please contact me there if you have any questions. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, and yeah, this was a really long episode, and it's only being longer because I'm still talking. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.